Saturday night, NASCAR's top teams and drivers lined it up for the 25th running of the Sprint All-Star Race. After 3 segments of pretty ordinary racing, the final 10 laps saw sparks and smoke fly.
Batten down the hatches, boys and girls. It's about to get rocky here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Green flag goes out, and they set sail.
Jimmie Johnson gets loose. He gets punted and spins on the back straightaway. Everybody scatters. Kyle took the middle. He goes up the gut. He passes everybody off turn 2. Kyle Busch to the lead on the back straightaway.
They get together. Jeff Gordon spins across the track.
Kenseth to the bottom. He leads by half a car length. And now Tony Stewart is in the hunt. Here comes Tony. He's got a wheel inside. Slides underneath that Kenseth. New leader.
Stewart has never won an All-Star race, and he makes this first victory a very sweet one, his first as a Sprint Cup team owner. He'll win the 25th running of the Sprint All-Star race.
Tony Stewart picks up his first win in the Sprint All-Star Race, blasting past Matt Kenseth and leading the final 2 laps for the win. His first with Stewart Haas Racing. A little over $1 million, the payday for Tony and the team for their night's work. From segment wins and spin-outs to rocket restarts and raucous celebrations, our roundtable panel has it covered. Next on NASCAR Now. From the Home Depot Garage Studio, we welcome you to the All-Star Racing edition of the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable. The month of May has always been pretty special for Indiana boy Tony Stewart, but I think May 2009 just went up a notch a little bit higher than most on his scale after a big win on Saturday night. Our own All-Star Roundtable panel set to take you through all the action. Ray Evernham, Randy LaJoie, and Ricky Craven. Now come on, honest with me now. Before those last 10 laps began, how many of you thought Tony Stewart was the potential winner?
I didn't. Thanks for bringing that 10-lap dash back. That was incredible.
Yeah. Good stuff. Let's take a look at how Tony's night progressed to get our roundtable review started. Had to start a little further back in the field than he planned after qualifying went a touch wrong.
Yeah, but that's what makes that so much fun. He just said to the guys, I'll be right back, and backed up, and he knew he had 100 laps to get to the front.
So he took the green flag 15th for the opening 50-lap segment, moved up to 9th by the break, gained 1 more spot in the next 20-lap segment, then did not pit there to gain a little more spots. Thank you. Don't try this at home. I'm a trained professional. After the hot dog break adjustments, Tony lined up 6th for the final 10 laps, and on a restart with 5 to go, got it going.
That is not comfortable. Okay, get a little bit of the apron maybe, loose underneath the Kenseth. Great save.
Here comes your winning pass.
There he goes. I talked to Matt Kenseth. He goes, man, Randy, they told me that was my fastest lap of the night. In the middle of the racetrack, I did it again.
It just didn't work. And Tony Stewart in victory lane Saturday night.
It's awesome. I mean, you don't care where it happens and when it happens. You just want it to happen. And you know, we knew this was coming. We knew it was a matter of time. And we've been running so well every week. And you know, we got Hendrick Motorsports to thank for that.
I mean, the last couple laps, I'm obviously disappointed we lost, but I feel stupid. It looks like I rolled up and Tony went flying right by me, which he did. But we were too loose all night. We were really slow on restarts, and for a long run, we were really good. Like if it would have been a 600 and we had 30 and 40 lap runs, I thought our car was pretty spectacular.
None of us expected it, and none of us expected the success that we've had this soon. But you know, it makes us very appreciative, and it was cool tonight to have Gene Haas here and have him be here for the first time since we've been a part of his organization, and to pull off a win for him.
I'm certainly glad that Tony had the vision to see what we had and came on board with us, because you know, we really did have a lot of good equipment, a lot of good people, and we knew what we were doing. And Tony was the part of that equation that got us here.
The best part of the whole thing wasn't the $1 million check, wasn't the trophy. It was seeing the guys on this team that have never been to victory lane before, and seeing them when we pulled around and seeing the smiles on their faces and tears in their eyes. It was it's cool. I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and it's nice to see guys that you've never seen in victory lane and they've never been there to be a part of it for the first time with, and that was the coolest part of the night.
Good stuff. 5 drivers have won the All-Star race and gone on to win the championship the same year. Jimmie Johnson, the last to do it 3 years ago. Pretty good names here, too. Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon have done it 3 times each, reaching a little far to discuss that with Tony. Maybe, maybe not. First things first, anybody surprised Tony and his team are in victory lane basically 12 weeks into the season?
12 weeks ago? Yeah, you know, tall order. But the way that they've been running the last few weeks, Tony's been getting stronger and stronger, and now you're seeing the strength of that team pass down to the 39 car. The 39 cars got competitive. You know, those guys are in position to win.
You know, Tony took and says, okay, I got an opportunity to be part of the Hendricks group. He got a lot of Hendricks personnel, brought in a lot of people elsewhere. And Tony has put together a fabulous race team.
He's got a little bit of that 25-year-old speed left in him. You know, he's just been getting faster and faster as the year's gone on. And he's been a factor in each of the races at the end of the race. But in this display, it came down to a 10-lap sprint, and he was the best.
You know, the 25-lap speed left, but yet knows enough about circumstances to take advantage of them and maximize them. We're going to look a little bit at the circumstances here in a second. Well, matter of fact, let's look at one right now. The winning pass, pretty much taking advantage of opportunity.
He tried the corner before, and the car got real loose on him. But Matt gave him just enough room going into 1 and 2, and obviously his air pressures fit what he was doing. He hit that line. You hook that line in turns 1 and 2 in Charlotte, your car's going to go around there quickly.
And Randy stuck with it. He knew what he had. He knew what his strength was, and he capitalized on what Matt Kenseth did not have, which was the ability to stay on the bottom.
Tony talked about in his post-race comments the adjustments before that final segment as being key to making his car go.
In between the set, something happened. I mean, that thing took off. Now it could be, you know, you've got a 10-minute break, and you not necessarily have a lot of time to change a bunch of things, but you have time to discuss it with the driver. Most times that caution comes out, you got 15 or 20 seconds to decide what you've got to do. When you have a 10-minute break like that, you can sit and bat some things back and forth, and obviously he and Darian made some great adjustments.
And part of that discussion, and you've had it, is can you hold on to this thing for 10 laps? I'm not asking for 12. Can you hold on to this thing for 10 laps? Because that's what I'm going to give you.
And good crew chiefs don't necessarily tell you what they're going to do to that race car. They're going to say, okay, this is what we're going to do, and they're going to do a little extra because they know they got a little bit of speed in there, and that driver's going to say, boy, let's have a little bit more speed.
And you pat him on the back, tell him, you can pass on the outside, especially matched tires.
Trust me.
I'm interested in your comments about the crew chief saying, can you hang on to this for 10 laps, and how much would he want to look him in the eye when he asked that question? Not hear it over the radio, but look him in the eye.
Hey, your best players want the ball, and I'm going to tell you that working with Jeff Gordon, and you get to work with a guy like Tony Stewart, that they grew up 10-lap shootouts with their life and sprint cars and midgets and stuff. They're like, put some tape on this thing, free it up, I'll get the job done.
And a quick thought on Matt Kenseth. I know you spoke with Matt earlier today, and I mean, he was a star of the night, but he didn't have much to show for it at the end.
Not at all. He had just, like I said, he just ran his fastest lap of the night. He goes, Randy, my car was great through the middle of the racetrack. That's where I went. And next thing I know, the 14 car's gone.
Don't feel sorry for him. He made $250,000.
That's all correct.
All right. Tony Stewart led 1 time for 2 laps. Kyle Busch led 3 times for 33 laps, but wound up finishing 7th. Started 13th after a penalty during qualifying for a lug nut problem. He was 5th at the end of the opening 50-lap segment, so he had a very fast race car, obviously, moving up well. Then on the pit stop, a little strategy for track position.
I think that he and Steve are really working good together on trying to figure out what they're going to need to do to win the 600 coming up on Sunday night.
So just 2 tires there for Kyle. Now he was on the outside of the front row for the start of segment 2, and he wasted little time taking the point. In fact, he led the entire segment, holding off Matt Kenseth's attempts in the final laps. Then they chose not to pit here between segments 2 and 3. Kyle led the first 11 laps of the 3rd segment, but then a guy by the name of Gordon came calling.
And you know, he had speed early, but he couldn't maintain it. Jeff looked so strong as the race continued to roll on. I think he's a contender for sure next week.
Well, now they know how many laps they can go on a 2-tire stop for next week. You better look out for the 18 car.
We will talk more about Gordon in a minute. So Kyle lines up on the outside of row 2 for the final 10 laps. First restart, he tried to go to the outside. The caution came out. They had to re-rack him, so he went someplace else.
This is like trash talking. You know, hey guys, have I showed you this one?
Yeah. They said, you cannot pass on the outside. He said, fine, I'll go between them.
Not as good as he is on restarts. He gets in everybody else's head. Look out.
Defying the laws of physics right there. Trying to put 3 objects in the space for 1.
We'll talk more about Jeff Gordon's night in just a minute. There's the damage Kyle took in the 3-wide sandwich, and that was kind of the beginning of his demise. On the next restart, Matt Kenseth went by Kyle for the lead, and that was the beginning of the fade. The 18 finished in 7th spot. Don't know about you guys, but watching this race, to me, it kind of had been a little ho-hum until those last 10 laps, and then was Kyle Busch a show on those restarts.
Yeah, every time he has a restart, it leaves you wanting another one, doesn't it? And
you know, as much as he does good, I think everybody else just messes up. I mean, not only does he do good restarts, Jeff
you just
said
made
he
a
had
lot of
a
people
Listen, when you split Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth, 2 champions, you got to give the kid credit.
So as drivers, you're Gordon, you're Kenseth, you're seeing this and you're thinking what?
What the heck did I just do that for?
Well, you're thinking, man, this guy's good.
You want to blame yourself, but you got to just give him some credit and say, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, as well. In the end, the damage to the A team just a little too much. And again, Kyle wound up finishing 7th after pretty much, with the exception of Tony Stewart, being the show in most of those final 10 laps. Still to come, the other stars of the All-Star race. We'll look in more detail on Jeff Gordon's night, which went from hero to 0 in the blink of an eye. And Jimmie Johnson, who led more laps than anyone else on the night, he wound up 13th in the rundown. What happened to the 48 car, including that spin? And later, Jeremy Mayfield spoke for the first time since his suspension from competition. What was said in reaction to it on the way?
NASCAR Now, brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
We continue our All-Star review with Jeff Gordon, who started 6th, raced Kurt Busch for 2nd place behind Jimmie Johnson at the end of segment 1. Took 4 tires on that pit stop and then joined the pit strategy party at the end of segment number 2. Here's the 4 tires on the opening stop for Gordon. And then they'll have a chance to pit again at the end of segment 2, and they decided not to.
Yeah, it looked like Kyle had the big fake on everybody, but actually back there it looked like Jeff had already decided not to stop.
So just past halfway through segment 3, Gordon went to the point. Talked about that a minute ago. He motored away to a big lead to take the money for segment 3. Then to open the final 10-lap sprint, was challenged by both Kyle Busch and Ryan Newman and came out of it on the short end. Yeah, that's not good. And this is going to be even worse. Oh, cut short before he hit the wall. Jeff hit the wall hard. He finished 19th.
Yeah, you know, that's the All-Star event. Everybody's going for it. There's a lot at stake, you know, a lot of pride, a lot of money, and putting on a heck of a show for these fans. And we were certainly proud of our DuPont Chevrolet team tonight. Man, they were doing awesome. Had a great race car. Start from the pole is a bit of a disadvantage, and so we didn't get a very good restart. Kyle got the outside of us, and from that point on, I was just fighting hard. I didn't even know the 39 got 3 wide on the outside, but just ran out of room. Nobody's fault.
Yeah, we were all talking earlier today among ourselves about the 3-wide spot Jeff found himself in. Holding the bottom off turn 4 is tough enough, let alone under those circumstances with $1 million in sight.
Well, as we were saying, if that was a 600, in his mind he's thinking, no, it's 600, and he's thinking, no, 8 laps to go, $1 million. He's wide open. That thing's in a slide, and all you can do at that point, you drivers know, is figure out how far you're going to slide before it stops sliding.
That's exactly right. And Kyle Busch is using his peripheral vision, saying he sees me. He knows we're 3 wide. He does not know we're 3 wide.
Well, what about Ryan Newman on the outside? He's on the outside of these guys saying, okay, I'm against the fence. I can't get any higher. And I see the start-finish line. I'm leading this race. Next thing you know, his night's ruined because he's 4 inches shorter than he should be.
But as Jeff said, nobody did anything wrong.
Not at all.
So
each of the 3 knew if they had made it off 4, they were going to win.
Yeah, and each of them were going, I'm not going to be the one that wrecks. I'm not going to be the one that wrecks. And guess what? Unfortunately, that wreck took out all 3 of them.
And an honorable mention moment here for Ryan Newman. What a job he and that team did.
Changed the shock early in the event, went down 2 laps, made them back up, come back to almost win the darn thing. Fastest car at the end of the race. A phenomenal job for that race team.
The driver who led the most laps during the All-Star race was Jimmie Johnson. Well, he started first, but chose to start second.
Well, it's very hard to get going. Starting on the inside in the first row at Charlotte on the first couple laps, you guys know most time the outside rail drive past you.
Middle of the racetrack seems to be where these cars run the best, but I think the bottom is where you're going to win the Coca-Cola 600.
Speaking of Newman, Jimmie slowed at the end of that first segment while leading and did Ryan a favor, kept from putting him 2 laps down. That got Newman the free pass and put him back on the lead lap. So after leading all 50 of the first laps, Jimmie's team went for 4 tires, put him out in 5th position to start segment 2. He finished third in that segment, and then some strategy came into play that cost track position for Jimmie.
Yeah, even I was surprised. As they said, the further he went back, as fast as his car was, it seemed like track position was extremely important. But again, we're going to see a lot of different tire strategies Sunday night.
Had a little moment here to start segment 3, a little scrape off the outside wall. Ended up 5th at the end of segment 3, and almost had trouble on pit road in the hot dog break. He managed to avoid Kyle Busch getting together. The two did. And the final 10 laps started with Jimmie getting turned around. End result, he finished 13th.
Fortunately, I didn't hit anything and nobody ran into us, but we lost so much track position that at that point we just kept coming to pit road and making changes to the car to try to get some more data for next weekend's race. So if you weren't in those first 2 or 3 rows, you really didn't have a shot. And I was there and unfortunately got spun around down the back and lost all that track position and was just kind of riding from there. I didn't expect it to have that big of a swing from the start of the race on. I also learned, and I knew this in the back of my mind, but track position was so much more important than I ever thought it would be.
Reaction to what you were hearing and you were starting to say about Jimmie's save?
Because it's unbelievable. The guy's got incredible car control. He didn't spin around. He didn't spin. He never went around. He's amazing.
He's saying, what did that crew chief do to me? He didn't. Where's my race car that I had?
Let me tell you, you're taught to fight that thing to the bitter end, but at the bitter end, you abort. He fought and aborted 3 different times and eventually saved it.
It's going to be interesting to see how tires and strategy do play out. Randy, you mentioned earlier 40 laps being kind of a critical number that we saw with Kyle Busch. Spinning this forward to the 600, track position, clean air, like we heard Jimmie just talk about, the tire strategies. I bet it's got some people scratching their head for this Sunday.
Oh, these guys are going to be rolling the dice all night long. They're going to be going 2 tires. You've seen it at Darlington. These guys got a great tire. Goodyear's done a wonderful job. When do you not want tires for $1 million?
Yeah, and again, like last year, they had a good tire, but if you run them too long, you can wear them out. So what we saw last year, Tony Stewart had the race 1, actually ran the tire right sides too long and wore right front out.
It's going to be interesting to see what people are thinking when we get down there on Thursday as far as the tires and how they play out for the 600. A couple other things from Saturday night that I want to dig into. Being in front, clean air, it was huge. And using the low lane to pass someone was very tricky. First, the clean air. I mean, look at the lead Jimmie's got in the first segment.
It seems to make a difference on these cars, and it wasn't supposed to, but we're seeing that. You know, I don't know whether the cars are that equal, and clean air is just making them that much faster, but when somebody gets out front, they really set sail.
And Ray, you can be penalized for leading early and thinking your car is good, right? Because you set sail.
That's a good point, Ricky.
Now, trying to use the low lane to make a pass. We saw Matt Kenseth try to get around Kyle Busch at the end of one of those segments. We saw Jeff have the trouble with the 3 wide situation. Seems like that low lane is a handful.
Yes, it is. It takes you so much patience to work there. Boy, there's nothing worse than running that guy on the inside and have him you just can't clear him. And you're like, okay, take a breath, don't get mad, don't run into the side of the guy. It takes a lot of patience to run the bottom groove.
Something to think forward to for Sunday's 600. Now, Sunday 600 will go back to normal restart rules. Lead lap cars in the outside lane, lap cars on the inside lane. But we saw double file restarts on Saturday night. Lead lap cars doubled up at the front, Saturday night short track style. And naturally, some people seeing the excitement would say, well, why don't we do this in every race? And I ask you, as competitors and fans, the pros and cons of having double file restarts in the regular weekly points races.
Are you asking me as a fan or a competitor?
Both.
Because as a fan, I want the double file restarts. I thought it was great to watch that. As a competitor, I don't, because I don't see what they would do with lap cars to give you a shot to earn your lap back if you didn't get the lucky door. That would be my question.
If I'm second, double us up. If I'm leading, no, don't double us up.
Well, what about Loudon or Martinsville? You wouldn't want to be second doubled up then, and that's the problem. If I'm sitting here, I love the double file restarts, but it's going to come back to haunt you as a competitor on these flat tracks where the outside groove, you could go from second to 8th before you get back in line.
Would be interesting to see if it were ever looked into, but there are pros and there are cons, and the question is, what do you do with the lap cars, and do you give the guy a choice, inside lane, outside lane, that kind of thing, first or second? There's a lot of complications to it before it might ever be put into play on a permanent basis. Coming up shortly, with those hot dog break adjustments, a key to Tony Stewart's win, we'll talk to the man who made him happen, crew chief Darian Grubb. That's in a little while. But up next, Jeremy Mayfield at the track and talking Saturday. Marty Smith joins us for a report when the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable returns. suspension last week for a violation of NASCAR's substance abuse policy. The last thing anyone expected this past weekend was for Jimmie Mayfield to be at the track and talking. But he was. NASCAR Now lead reporter Marty Smith joins us now. And Marty, tell me about your conversation with Jimmie.
Well, Alan, when word started to permeate the media center that Mayfield was actually on the premise at Lowe's Motor Speedway, reporters began to pop up like whack-a-mole targets to run out and go try to find him, myself included. And I did find him on top of a sponsor hospitality rig near the infield tunnel. And I asked him if I could come up and if he would talk to me, and he waved me up. And we had a brief conversation. We spoke for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. And then I noticed the horde of reporters, come down below us on the ground. And I just looked at Jimmie and said, man, it might be time to face the music. It might be time to go ahead and talk, and he agreed, and we went down, and from that point on, he set forth vehemently denying any wrongdoing.
I take a prescription drug. That's a legal prescription drug is what I take. And I had allergies at Richmond that were really, really bad. And Thursday when I got a call from Dr. Ackerman and said you've tested positive for a certain whatever they call it. I said, okay, no problem. I've got all my paperwork ready. He said, if you'll fax that to us, it'll cancel out your test into a negative. And this is the story. And so I said, okay, faxed all my paperwork to him, never heard another word till Friday. And Friday it was a different story. And I got in the car and ran and qualified and didn't qualify for the race. And then the next thing I heard from Darby on Saturday. And that's the whole truth. I mean, I'm telling y'all exactly the way it played out. And I mean, I knew Thursday what they said it was what I thought was my prescription, and either that or the Claritin D1 triggered that. And Dr. Black said that either one of those could have triggered it in the Saturday when he was talking to you guys. And now it's not triggering it because I think there might be a sponsor in the sport. It's so frustrating because I mean, I'm labeled now. As the damage is done, huge. It's huge. My family, my friends, everybody knows me, knows better, and it's just been a huge, huge deal. And it's pretty frustrating.
I'm not going to get in and discuss those details right now. That's something that's there's other people that are having those talks with Jimmie and from our company and his people.
When he says he was given no proof, what is your response to that?
I'm not going to discuss Jimmie Mayfield tonight. We had a great race. I'm not here. I'm going to let Jimmie Mayfield spoil a great all-star race.
Ask around the garage and it's obvious, competitors want answers, especially now, and that doesn't mean necessarily that they want a banned substance list. What it means is they want NASCAR to disclose that which Mayfield was found to have ingested, and of course NASCAR maintains continuously that they won't do that. Jeff Burton said on Friday when I asked him about this very subject that when a driver tests positive and is suspended, he said it would lend tremendous credence, to the drug policy if NASCAR would just disclose all details as to why. Alan?
Marty, so that was Friday and Saturday down at the racetrack specifically. Now let's move the story forward to today. What are the latest updates in this saga?
Well, I spoke with Dr. Black today, Alan, on 2 occasions actually, and he told me, I said, look, Mayfield says that you guys never told him what he tested positive for, and Black reiterated what he said and what NASCAR has said, that being that the policy states you will be told what you tested positive for, and Black said Jimmie Mayfield was definitely told for what he tested positive. Another question that I had when I spoke with Black, I just spoke with him right before we came on here, was how much Claritin D, if Mayfield says that Claritin D played into this, how much Claritin D would one have to ingest to get a reading that Dr. Black got? And Dr. Black told me that pharmaceutically it is proven that Claritin D cannot be a part of this. There's no way that Claritin D could register in that which they found Mayfield to have ingested. So we definitely have a he said, she said for the ages as far as NASCAR is concerned, Al.
Yeah, and without NASCAR saying what the substance is or Jimmie backing down, the story kind of comes to a standstill at that point. NASCAR Now lead reporter Marty Smith. Thanks, Marty. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alan.
All right, first thing let's mention, obviously Jimmie is a former employee of yours as a driver.
He is, and hiya, all the bloggers, everybody, get ready, all right? You know, because we've been all day long. Should I comment on it? Should I not comment on it? And here is my comment on it. You know, at some point you have to trust the sanctioning body. Obviously, NASCAR feels like this is not a prescription issue, so that's between them and the fight. Now, with that said, in all the time that Jeremy Mayfield drove for me and the time that we spent together socially, I never saw anything that would indicate to me that Jeremy Mayfield would ever have this kind of a problem. So I support NASCAR, and I'm sorry Jeremy's in the middle of it, but as I've said, I've spent plenty of time with Jeremy socially. I never had any indication that something like this would be a problem.
Without the presence of a players' union like other sports have, NASCAR and its hired experts are, in effect, judge and jury on this substance abuse policy that they administer. So as competitors, you have to be completely confident in the fair administration of this program by them to buy into it. Are you?
Yeah, absolutely, because ultimately the purpose for all this is to keep everyone safe. So the fact that we have someone that had failed, you know, I think you got to be very, very careful not to criticize the system or the policy, because it's in place to protect you out there in a 3,500-pound race car going 180 miles an hour. But what I take from this, guys, is that listening and reading, NASCAR has their evidence, NASCAR made their statement, and NASCAR has moved on. That's how I read this. And, you know, they're not leaving any wiggle room. They're saying it's done. We've moved on.
Jeremy has to be careful. He has one black eye already. And when all this is said, hopefully he won't end up with 2 black eyes and a cut lip. You know, he's just going to have to see what happens here.
It's an interesting spot. And again, you know, NASCAR obviously has their reasons why they're not going to disclose what the substance is. And again, without Jeremy either backing down or NASCAR disclosing that substance, those of us on the outside of this looking in are left with those same questions unanswered. But as competitors, you just have to have belief that the people that are administering the program are fair, or you're really not going to have any belief in the program at all.
Well, they're saying there's a rule issue, a rule broken. Do we really need to know or judge? So obviously they're confident enough to feel that there's been a rule infraction.
They've got their ducks lined up, or they wouldn't have made that call. Is essentially what we're feeling.
Now, and from the competitor standpoint, it's sensitive. Yeah. It's sensitive because it's a guy we all raced with, and you feel for Jeremy. Yeah. You know, I mean, this is a difficult position to be in. But again, you have to be thankful the system is in place, in my opinion.
Later in the show, highlights from Friday night's NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race at Charlotte. It had its share of wild moments, and I do mean wild. We'll look at that a little bit later on. But up next, the crew chief of the winning car from Saturday night, Darian Grubb, when the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable returns.
Championship points to worry about. This is an all-out dash for the cash.
One driver will leave the Lowe's Motor Speedway with $1 million in his pocket.
The Sprint All-Star race is about to get underway. Green flag is in the air.
Immediately, Kyle Busch goes 3 wide. He passes 2, 4, 7 cars.
So I'm going for it. Who gives 10 laps to the end, right? We do 20 laps now, another caution, another 20, and then the intermission.
Haven't heard much from Tony so far tonight, but he's looking for a spot down in the top 5.
Start off a little bit free and starting to come to it now. They complete 50 laps. Caution comes out next time by.
Since it went green the whole way, we probably ought to do 4. What do you think? Be ready to pit here, guys. 4 tires, race painter mark 2 rounds.
Pit road is now open, and it looks like the entire field is going to take advantage.
3, 2, 1, 4 tires. Wheel straight, foot on the brake. Back him up, back him up.
Newman has had more than his share of headaches here tonight.
Something definitely broken in the front end of that U.S. Army Chevrolet.
Go, 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 one lane.
And they turn up the intensity just a little bit more here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Here they go, one more time, 3 wide. Immediately, Kyle Busch tried to get around Matt Kenseth.
He goes up the gut. He passes everybody off turn 2. Kyle Busch to the lead.
Clear, come on.
Not for long if Jeff Gordon's got anything to say about it.
All right, Grant Grubb, go get your spot, buddy. Keep doing your thing, bud. Keep doing it.
Gordon fires it to the bottom side of the racetrack, leaning on Kyle for the top spot. Ryan Newman out of nowhere. He's going to go 3 wide for the lead.
Where did he come from? He was a lap down earlier. 2 outside. 2 outside.
Jeff Gordon spins to the inside. Gordon spins across the track, bounces off the outside retaining wall.
Let him tow it. It's steaming.
Hang on. This is going to get pretty intense.
All right, bud. Get a good one here. Got a front.
Kenseth gets a real good start, pulls away by a Carling.
But don't look now. Here comes a red-hot Chevy. Tony Stewart is there. He's got a wheel inside. Slides underneath that Kenseth. New leader, Tony Stewart, with a lap and a half to go.
Y'all don't like $1 million, do you?
Tony Stewart's pulling away. He'll win the 25th running of the Sprint All-Star Race. His first as a Sprint Cup team owner.
Got us one. Even it's about time.
Six drivers have been able to parlay their All-Star Race win into a Coca-Cola 600 victory the following week at the same track. Casey Kane did it a year ago, joining a list that includes Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Gordon, Jimmie Johnson, and a list that Tony Stewart hopes to join in about 5 days' time.
I didn't think 10 minutes you could do so much in such a short amount of time, but man, was it a huge 10-minute period of my life, you know, having that opportunity to come in and turn Darian loose. I mean, I think the guy's David Copperfield all of a sudden, because I don't know that I didn't even get out of the car, but I don't feel like I drove the same car the last 10 laps that I drove the first 90 laps.
Well, the man who made that 14 car come alive on the hot dog break and who also knows what the definition of a hokey is, joins us now from the Stewart Haas Racing Shops outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, Crew Chief Darian Grubb. Hey, thanks for the time and congratulations.
Thanks for having me here, guys. It's been great.
The adjustments on that 10-minute break that you made to that car, I won't ask you for the specifics, but I want to know, small, medium, large, how big a swing was it?
I think it was a pretty large swing. We made a lot of changes at that Office Depot Old Spice Chevrolet and just made a lot of changes all the way around every corner of the car. So I think all of them together added up into one large swing. We had a lot of small adjustments in every corner.
Darian, Ricky Craven, I watched the pass on Matt Kenseth and rewatched the pass, and I came to this conclusion. You had that car set up in qualifying trim. He was making qualifying laps the last 5 laps. Am I right or wrong?
It was pretty close to it. He was definitely out there hanging on to it. We made a lot of changes from what we'd done in his first 50 laps and the other 2 20-lap segments just to try to give him the edge to be able to take off. But there was a whole lot of guys out there doing the same thing, and Tony was just able to drive it out there and beat those guys.
Darian, this is Ray Evernham. Congratulations again. The changes that you made, are they changes that would be specific to that 10-minute break, or those things, can you do those during the race on Sunday night?
Yeah, I think most of them we can actually do during the race. It was just a matter of doing all those at one time and trying to put the whole puzzle together, taking Tony's feedback from every segment we had before, being able to do the spring rubbers, the air pressure adjustments, the tire strategy, and everything we were going to do. The 10 minutes just gives you time to actually sit and digest all that information, sit there and talk to Tony, give him your ideas of what you want to do, and do it in a little more timely fashion, where going into the 600, we're going to have to make more spur-of-the-moment decisions and make those changes as we go through the night.
Darian, Randy LaJoy, congratulations. Now, you've been competing against Tony Stewart for a long time. He has a different team. Now he's your guy. He's your partner. He's your brother. What is the biggest surprise about Tony Stewart that you have noticed?
Honestly, just the talent level and how much of a personable person he is. He's such a great guy coming in here to the shop today and just going through and patting everybody on the back. And he's definitely a leader for this organization. Everybody's really proud to work for him, and really proud we're able to go out there and get that win for him, bring home the $1 million, and then go back this week, hopefully bring home some points and some more money.
All right, Darian, back to Alan again. When you started this season, you had a set of goals, no doubt, of what you wanted to attain during the year. So 12 weeks in, basically, is this team ahead of or behind or right even with the goals that you laid out for yourselves at the start of the year?
Those goals have been adjusted definitely as we've been going through this season. We weren't expecting to come out this strong. We knew we had the potential to do it with the backing of the entire Stewart Haas organization and the Hendrick Motorsports chassis and engine program. We knew we definitely had great equipment. It's just a matter of going out there and getting the results from that. So we've been struggling a little bit in a few small areas, but we're getting better and better every week. And being able to go out there and get that win this early in the season, something we weren't really looking forward to. We were second in points now. It's something we were really just hoping to be in contention to be in the chase towards the end of the season. So we're definitely ahead of the time frame, but now we've readjusted those goals and we're definitely going out for the championship.
And you could tell me what a hokey is were I to take the time to ask you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Hey, congratulations on a great win. Best of luck over 600 miles this coming Sunday night and as you pursue that place in the chase.
Thank you very much.
Darian Grubb, the winning crew chief from Saturday night rather, in the All-Star races, hoping to be the winning crew chief in Sunday night's 600. Still to come, a preview of said 600-mile race, NASCAR's longest. Casey Kane won it a year ago. But first, a look back at Friday night's Camping World Truck Series race. Thankfully, Mike Skinner walked away from this one. Friday night, 200 miles for the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at Charlotte. Mike Skinner, the point leader, over Ron Hornaday. They would have much different luck on the night. That is Skinner in the 5, just 50 miles into the race. Hello.
That's a scary wreck. Years ago, we've seen Blaze Alexander and Kerry Earnhardt do that. Safer barrier, head and neck restraints. Thank you, NASCAR, for doing that.
Look at that. That's just amazing. TJ Bell, the other driver involved. Fortunately, Skinner and Bell able to walk away. Skinner finished 29th. He is no longer the championship leader. To lap 88, Colin Brown is leading in the 6. Kyle Busch chasing him in the 51. And it goes wrong. At the end of the back straightaway, Brown headed to the garage and Busch headed to pit road for a rough driving penalty. Ron Hornaday trapped a lap down by the caution for Brown's wreck. He's able to come all the way back and take the lead here from Matt Crafton and take the win. Kyle Busch comes back to second, but it is Ron Hornaday getting his 40th career Truck Series win, his first in 2009. Oh, and by the way, he grabbed the point lead. In the process, 84 points over Skinner after 6 races. Kyle Busch and Terry Cook up 2 and 3 spots respectively. Todd Bodine and Johnny Benson dropped 2 each. By the way, Kyle's 4th in points, despite the fact that he's only competed in 5 of the 6 races run so far this year. Couple things to follow up on. First, the wreck. Nobody was hurt, but wow, that's one of those highlights that you see and you go, I can't believe I just saw that.
Yeah, and to follow Randy's lead, you think about everything before the race, about leading the most laps, about hitting your marks, about a good pit stop, and about winning the race, and you don't think about the safety until you need it, until you use it.
And this was on a restart, guys. He wasn't even full tilt.
And that was at a critical angle. So again, just as you said, applaud NASCAR for safer barriers, the changes they've made to the chassis on these vehicles, and the head and neck restraints.
I said something.
Yeah, amazing. But again, both walked away. Now, the other follow-up, Kyle Busch penalized for rough driving after the contact with Colin Brown, racing with Brian Scott at lap 88. They were racing for the lead, by the way.
Yeah, he just need, again, another physics lesson. He just tried to occupy the same space that something was already occupying. Just a little physics issue there.
Is that like
some physics classes for racing?
Physics is like running over that guy?
Something like that.
Okay.
Schrader used to call that real estate problems.
It's not like he's not passing anybody this year.
Yeah, it's a shame. Shame for Colin. And Kyle to the back for the rough driving penalty, and again made it back up to second. The truck's next race at Dover 1 week from Friday. Up next, the Coca-Cola 600, how to be fastest when the temperature's at its coolest. That when the NASCAR Now Monday Roundtable continues. The NASCAR Nationwide Series back on track in Charlotte. Saturday night, 7 Eastern time. Kyle Busch has won the last 2 there. But Greg Biffle and Matt Kenseth have been a pretty strong team in the 16 this year. Biff's in the 16 this week. Follow along, 7 Eastern, Saturday night, ESPN2.
Earlier tonight, NASCAR Nation voted Casey Kane into the All-Star race, and it appears that they have voted well.
Right now, that 9 car, he's pretty strong on the bottom side of the racetrack.
I thought we were pretty safe, and then somehow out of nowhere, Casey's car just took off.
Stewart for the lead.
Casey is on pit road.
Yes.
Bill only won him $1 million last week.
Starting to see a lot of cars coming to pit road now. This will hand the lead to Tony Stewart. He has a 6-second lead over Casey Kane. Smoke's got her on cruise now.
I got a flat right front. Stewart, he hit the wall in 2.
Oh, I got a flat right front.
One more time, hit your mark. Keep focused. Banked $1 million last week.
Casey Kane, just the 6th driver ever to win the All-Star race in the Coca-Cola 600 back-to-back.
To me, that's the coolest thing I've ever done in a race car.
Even though Casey Kane won last year, you still have to think of the Charlotte track as Jimmie Johnson's house. 15 career starts there. How about 12 top 10 finishes? 5 wins. 1 more Charlotte win ties Jimmie with Darrell Waltrip and Bobby Allison for most all-time there. 600 miles and a twist of plot at the end still. It's what you got to love about this sport. You never can quite figure out what's going to happen until the checkered flag waves. Agree or disagree with the changing conditions, and Charlotte being one of the tracks where temperature means more to handling than most places, this is as much a crew chief's race as any other on the circuit.
Oh, absolutely. The driver is very, very interesting. Coming. Got him. No, the communication between driver and crew chief are important. As that track changes, you start, there's a lot of track temperature. It starts early in the afternoon or later in the afternoon, moves into early evening. About 9, 10 o'clock at night, you really got to keep up with that. You need a driver to give you good information.
Check this out, all right? Kyle Busch, last year's race, same car, same track. On the right, in the heat of the day, not long after the race started. On the left, in the cool evening temperatures just before it finishes. Difference between that car is?
On the left feels a whole lot better than on the right. More grip, more speed, more comfortable. Drivers like the cool temps. Car likes the cool temps.
Yeah. It's an interesting race to follow because if your driver gets a lap down early in the race, you shouldn't necessarily worry all that much. He'd come back.
Yeah, with the lucky dog, yeah, but 600 miles. You're racing and racing and racing, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, that's 500 miles, just 100 more miles to go and another pit stop. So you've got time to make it up. And again, the guys that run good early are not necessarily the guys that are fast when the lights come on.
Exactly right. You could be leading the race early in the race where there's a strategy stop, 2 tires, and you think, okay, I'm going to be saying a speech in victory lane. I'm going to win this race. But then all of a sudden it gets dark, and you come out of a pit stop, and everybody else does 2. You do 4, and you're sitting 35th. You're like, what happened here? Where'd my speech go?
So tying back what we talked about tires from the All-Star race into a conversation about the 600. It's going to be interesting to see what unfolds, and even thinking about that highlight from the end of last year's race, too.
You'll see 2 or 3, maybe 4 different tire strategies depending on when the cautions fall. Guys will get out of sequence, and you're going to have to time it right depending on how many laps are left. It looked like those left sides were good for 40 or 50 laps, so you'll see a lot of 2-tire stops, I believe, Sunday night, 4 track position.
Yeah, and we got a little bit of a peak in the All-Star race, the 50, 20, and 10-lap segments. But here's what we're going to get also that we didn't see Saturday night is a long green flag run. It happens with the 600 because the drivers bring a mentality where they have to pace themselves. Not that they do, but if you qualify poorly, I've been so uncomfortable in a bad qualifying effort because the guys out front will lap you before you get that first green opportunity to make some or to make some adjustments on a pit stop.
Did he just say drivers and mental all in the same question?
Ricky, I think the green flag stops, you'll see the 4 tires. The times that the 2 tires or no tires, that's when the cautions come out, because you can lose more spots under caution than you can under green. You'll see those guys 4 tires under green all the time.
Record lead changes, I predict.
You predict. Yeah. Write that one down. 600 miles Sunday night with record lead changes according to one Randy LaJoy. News and notes and final thoughts when we come back.
Trying to get his first Indianapolis 500 win. Mears goes to the outside, and Rick may have him. They move into the short shoot. Rick Mears takes the lead. Rick Mears becomes the 3rd 4-time winner of the Indianapolis 500.
Expect to see more moments like this. The Indianapolis 500 returns Sunday, May 24th on ABC.
Now on ESPN.com, is there any reason not to keep Tony Stewart at #1 in this week's Power Rankings? Ryan McGee says no. Kyle Busch, after the All-Star race, flew to Iowa Speedway, where he led 168 of 200 laps in winning the combined Camping World East and West Series race. 2008 winner Brian Eichler chased Kyle to the checkers. David Mayhew, Jeffrey Earnhardt, and Paulie Haraka rounded out the top 5. Congratulations to Kyle on that. Dale Earnhardt Jr. to participate in a fan forum with auto workers and soldiers in Detroit Thursday, May 28th. John Andretti was able to qualify the King's car at the Indy 500 on bump day. He starts 28th. And Rick Hendrick appears on the Oprah Winfrey Show on Tuesday. Check your local listings for time and station. Got about a minute left for some final thoughts. What do you think?
Are you sure Rick's not on Springer?
You can say that.
No,
I couldn't.
Hey,
you can say that.
Great job again to Tony Stewart. What a wonderful job he's done with that race team and bringing it along. And Rick, I apologize.
No, you don't.
Happy birthday to my dad. He had his 71st on Saturday. We had a nice little party for him. And then he's still kicking butt and taking names.
600 was always my favorite race. I love the 600 miles, love being home in your own bed. It's a big race for the drivers and crews because it's home.
So not Jerry Springer, but Oprah Winfrey for Rick Hendrick. That's Ray Evernham on Tuesday. And on Tuesday's NASCAR Now, Jimmie Johnson will be on the program. Talk with the man who has made the Lowe's Motor Speedway his house. Richard Petty will also join us on Tuesday's show tomorrow. We'll talk to the King about Charlotte, about Indianapolis, who knows what all else. So thanks to Darian Grubb for joining us, Marty Smith as well, for Ray, Ricky, and Randy. And we thank you for joining us as well. Tony Stewart, All-Star Race winner on Saturday night. Will he double up in the 600 this coming Sunday?